let's talk a little bit about Ashtanga Yoga. What is Ashtanga Yoga? Ashtanga Yoga is something that has piqued my interest again as of late. Again, I say again because these things, it comes in phases, sort of. Ashtanga Yoga, Ashtanga, I believe Ashtanga means the 8 limbs, 8 limbs. So it's the yoga of 8 limbs, because it's got 8 limbs, it's got 8 different parts to it. The word yoga means union. Okay, it's union. So it's any form of yoga is a yoga is a form of union. And so you've got like psychedelic yoga as a way to be in union. You've got like tantric yoga, so that's Tantra, the path of Tantra is not just sexual, that's just one small component. Like, for example, Tibetan monks chanting in a monastery. That's Tantra right there. They're performing Tantra. Okay, then the Tantric sex. Any form of, any action within the drama, within the illusion, that gets you to transcend it into oneness, into wholeness. Okay, so there is a particular yoga, it's very popular, very common, it's called Ashtanga Yoga. Now, the first thing that's gonna happen when you go look up Ashtanga Yoga on YouTube is a bunch of people, mostly chicks, stretching. That's Hatha Yoga. That's one limb of the Ashtanga Yoga, okay? But for whatever reason, it took off in the West as yoga, Hatha Yoga. It's like one limb. It's number 3, asanas, okay? And it's funny to see, so many butterflies here, man. It's so beautiful. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. Okay, so like a butterfly is a form of yoga. Just observing a butterfly, you just feel a one with the butterfly. It's amazing. It's amazing. So anyway, Hatha Yoga, it's the 3rd limb of Ashtanga Yoga. It's asanas, okay? It's literally like one thing, and it's a small thing, by the way. That I'll explain to you what is the purpose. The purpose of asanas is to be able to sit down and meditate and do pranayama and do the other aspects. It isn't to do splits and do all these next level things, okay? Literally, it's just get the body cooled off, get the nerves loosened, so you could sit without having pain in your knees, etc., etc. That's the purpose of Hatha Yoga. Okay, but of course, because the Western world is very materialistic, it took the material part of yoga, which is Hatha Yoga, the physical aspect, and said, well, that's yoga, right? Anyway, so I've been taking interest in it lately because it's a powerful system to get you to transcend your separation, your sense of identity, your ego, and go into higher states of consciousness, higher states of awareness. Very powerful system. Once you understand it, very, very powerful. So, to quickly go over the 8 limbs, I'm by no means an expert in it. I'm just learning about it again recently, and I'm trying to refresh my memory by making a video on it. So, to take you quickly through the 8 limbs, I'll take you quickly through them, and then I'll talk about the first 2, because that's kind of, or the first 4, because that's kind of where I'm at. So, first 2, Yamas and Niyamas. These are kind of like the 10 commandments, and there's 10 of them. Yamas is the first limb, that's things you don't do, and Niyamas are things you do. Okay, so these are like the ethics of yoga, you could think of it. So we'll go over these 2. And then the 3rd one is asanas. That's basically Hatha Yoga. That's stretching and asanas and postures. Sitting in cross-legged. Like I'm in a particular asana right now. That's an asana. Okay, so that's the 3rd one, 3rd limb. 4th limb is pranayama, control of breath. Many different forms, many different ways for different purposes. And then, this is where I'm going to maybe butcher it a little bit, but here we go. Because I don't know enough about I'm mostly in the first 4. So, 5th one is... okay, see, the name doesn't... I don't remember the name. But in other words, it's sensory deprivation. Okay? The 5th limb, it's about withdrawing the senses. Anyway, who cares about the name? The meaning of it is you withdraw your senses. So think of a sensory deprivation tank. It's kind of like going straight into the 5th limb of Ashtanga Yoga, withdrawing the senses. Now the idea is once you're good, you got the first 4 mastered, you'll be able to withdraw all the senses. You'll be able to withdraw inwards, go inwards. So one of the things I do when I meditate, for example, is I put on a blindfold meditation, blindfold, complete darkness, and I just bought earplugs. I'm waiting for them to arrive. Apparently they're noise cancelling. You put them in, you don't hear a thing. Okay, so I'm already looking into forms of sensory deprivation here. Okay, so that's the fifth limb. Sixth and seventh and eighth are very much related. 6 and 7 is, you know, they translate dharana, and the other one starts with a D too. See, I should have been more prepared for this video. But we will talk more in the future about this, and because I'm really involved in this path right now. Anyway, 6th and 7th limbs, they translate into concentration meditation. One of the things you do, I think, in the 6th limb is you perform something called tratika, which is you get something and you just concentrate on it. A candle flame. You just look at the candle flame for hours and hours on end. Okay, you're really, because now you've gone past the first, you've gone through the first 5, you've really mastered the first 5 limbs. Now you're ready to just one-pointedly concentrate on something. And that takes you into a meditative state, and that eventually takes you into Samadhi, which is the 8th limb. Okay, you hear about the state Samadhi, right? Samadhi is something, you know, it's kind of like the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. It's an indescribable type of experience. It's like, it's ecstasy and bliss and things you might have experienced yourself. I'm talking about myself now. When you're really gone pretty hardcore on a psychedelic trip. Okay, that's the only way I know Samadhi. It's through psychedelics. But at least I know it exists. I know the potential. And the idea is that you do this path of Ashtanga Yoga, and then you live in Samadhi pretty much. You're pretty much in Samadhi all the time. Okay, you come out of it, in and out of it, but you do it deliberately. Okay, so that's the idea. The idea of Ashtanga Yoga is essentially, you know, again, if you've done psychedelics, you have a reference point, you know, is to basically be on psychedelics all the time, essentially. And be able to deliberately come out of the psychedelic state and back into it. At will. That's why it's a rough path, man. And once you get into it, I mean, it's like you've really got to put everything aside and just concentrate on the path of Ashtanga Yoga, because it requires total dedication on your part. Total dedication. Every part of your life must be dedicated to it. So let's talk about the first 2 limbs, Yamas and Niyamas. These are the 10 commandments of Ashtanga Yoga. You could think of them. So the Yamas, non-killing. You don't kill a living thing, a living being. That involves not eating, but also just not killing. Non-violence, non-killing. Non-stealing. NoFap. Okay, NoFap. So, Brahmacharya. Now, some people will tell you, well, Brahmacharya means to walk with God, so it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have sex. No. Okay, that's just a nice way to go around it, because you want to satisfy your desires in a way. So just be honest about it, okay? No. If you actually go to India and you practice with you know, people who practice Ashtanga Yoga, it's like, all right, now you got to be celibate. Okay? Now you might find the loophole around it and say, well, you could do tantric sex. You're not really releasing your semen, right? Maybe you could do so, but you can't afford to do any stuff like that when you're on the path. That's according to Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, I'm just giving you here what the Ashtanga Yoga, what it implies, what its commandments are, right? So there is celibacy, brahmacharya, walking with God. Brahmacharya means to walk the path of God, to walk with God, okay? But in this particular case, it means, you know, celibacy. At least, especially when you're going hardcore. Like if, let's say, you're dedicating a year or 2 of your life just towards, you know, the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, then perhaps when you're done with it, if you will, or you feel like it gave you what you need, you can maybe go back and practice tantric sex or something. But if you're really serious about Ashtanga Yoga, you're serious about the path, you know, you've kind of just give up the sexual thing, because you allow, you know, heat rises up, Shakti meets Shiva. Okay, Shiva comes through the head, Shakti rises from it's the Kundalini. Shakti rises through your spine. Okay, it's at the base of your spine. And if you're coming, or if you're always in the sexual center of your energy, you're basically trapping the energy from rising. You're trapping the heat from rising up. Okay, so by allowing the heat to rise up, right, you allow, you let it all go up, then it'll go up all to your third eye and then your crown. The 1,000 jewels. This is when you become it all. This is like, again, because what it is you're giving up the little candy bar for the big candy bar later. Because that, once you go to the 7th, to the crown, and the Shiva meets the Shakti, that's like, Muhammad would tell his people 72 versions. He was trying to like point an image in their head, like that's how it feels. Imagine, that's the state. That's the type of ecstasy. Okay, so that's like, literally, that's like, like an orgasm, a sexual orgasm just becomes like a child's play, a joke. And when I found that, again, when I found out about all these things, psychedelics, because when I started getting into psychedelics, it felt better than any sexual union with anybody I've ever had, or any sexual orgasm or anything like that. It felt like way better. So then when I realized because I used to think sex is the highest human experience, like most people, right? I used to think that's the highest human experience. Then psychedelics came and I felt this, ecstasy, bliss, love, light, beauty, contentment. And I was like, no, there's a higher way of being. And then, you start to read about these things and you realize there are systems in the East for these things. So then the path of Ashtanga Yoga is you're giving up the little candy bar for the big candy bar later on. So that's the third aspect of it, the third part of the Yamas. The fourth and the fifth. Fourth is non-possessiveness, non-attachment. And I'm going to sit down and contemplate on that one. Because it's any attachments you have. Material possessions, material attachments, attachments to your money. This is my money, this is my thing, this is my backpack, this is my phone. All these things. So the idea is to give up all these things. You give them up inside. It doesn't mean you're like, I don't have anything anymore. It just means inside of you let go of the desire for them. You let go of your attachment. Like if somebody comes and steals your backpack, they stole your backpack. It's not your backpack anyway to begin with. That kind of thing. So it's not like, I don't have, because I need a backpack to get around. I need to put stuff in it. It's like, it's part of, my character. But it's like, if somebody comes and steals it, well, it is not my backpack. Not mine. It's God's backpack. I guess now God borrowed it in a different form. It's that type of, you understand, it's an inner thing. So that's the fourth one. The fifth one is the surrender to God. It's surrender. Surrender. And I was thinking about that today because I was getting a massage today. And I said, you know what? If everything and everyone is God, I'm surrendering to this being that is massaging me. Because they go in and it's like, man, you really got to surrender. Because it's like, their elbows and knees and it's painful. You really got to surrender to this being. You're surrendering your body. It's like, here, do with my body as you see fit. So I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? This is part of the surrender. This is part of the Yamas. And I surrendered. Surrendered. Let the lady just walk on me and stuff. I was just quiet about the whole thing. Suffering in silence. Pain in silence, okay? So, and I was trying to just keep my body relaxed, just in a state of surrender as much as I can. So surrender. It's surrender to God. Letting go. What they call it in the hippie, new age community, right? Letting go. Flowing with the way, with the Tao. No resistance. So, that's the Yamas. And there's the Niyamas. The Niyamas are things you do. So first one is purity and cleanliness. You clean your body, you clean your mind. Fasting and just cleaning, cleanliness, hygiene, that kind of stuff. And then you have the second one is austerities. Again, these are, self-discipline. Disciplining yourself to meditate. Disciplining yourself for meditation. For fasting. For, things like that. Tapas, austerities. Then the third one is, so I gotta remember here. So we have the tapas, which is austerities, and then we have cleanliness, which is purity, purifying yourself. And then, interesting. I gotta pause this for a second. Okay, so I had to look it up. I'm poorly prepared. I'm going off memory here. It's more for myself to remember because now I won't forget. So, we said in the fifth Yama that it's surrender to God is the last one. It's actually truthfulness. It's telling the truth. It's living the truth, telling the truth. So, to go quickly here, the yamas, non-killing, non-stealing, non-attachment, brahmacharya, so celibacy, and truthfulness. Then the niyamas, purity, purifying your mind, purifying your body. Austerities, so these are like disciplines you take, fasting, silence, meditation, etc. And then the third one is contentment, being content with things as they are, appreciation, contentment for things how they are, how it is. And this is practicing gratitude, in other words, being grateful, counting your blessings. And then fourth and fifth, the fourth one is study. So you study the words of self-realized beings. So books like the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, the Upanishads, holy books, holy scriptures that contain these eternal truths that remind you of who you are on an intellectual level. Okay? Because the system is trying to get you through the body, through the mind, and through the heart. Okay? It's really trying to get you to become the light in every sense, in every department. And the last one is surrender to God. That's in the niyamas, not in the yamas. So it's a truthfulness in the yamas. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. Just think of them as the 10 commandments here. It really doesn't matter. So, surrender to God. We talked about that. Surrender to God. So, these are like the ethics of yoga. You could think of them. And they're pretty much like when you think of a person who does yoga, who's into yoga, usually they abide by these 10 commandments of yoga, if you will. Okay, the yamas and the niyamas, usually, at least, you got them mostly covered. So, you go beyond to the third limb, and that's asanas. And it doesn't necessarily have to be stretching. I think of massages. I'm getting massages here, right? I found them to be more powerful than stretching. I found them personally to be more powerful than hatha yoga. Personally, now you combine both of them for best results. But I'm saying, anything that gets your body loosened up. Okay, the whole purpose of hatha yoga, of asanas, is so you could relax enough so that you could sit, you could maintain a posture, so you could withdraw your senses and go into these inner states. It isn't to do splits. Patanjali, when he compiled the Yoga Sutras and all the rishis and all the yogis that came after, they didn't give a shit if they were able to do splits or not. They wanted to be comfortable, to sit still without their knees hurting, without this hurting, without their back hurting, and be able to meditate, and be able to go into these inner states, and to withdraw their senses, go inwards, and go into these states, dharana, concentration, meditation, and then samadhi. Okay? So anything that gets you loosened up, that's the third limb. Massage, hatha yoga, stretching, whatever. Releasing tension from the body. Dancing, any form that gets the tension released, gets you to be able to stay still without your body hurting. Okay? Reiki, all these things. There, I would classify them in asanas, in the third limb of Ashtanga yoga. The fourth limb is pranayama. It's control of breath. There are different methods. There's breathing out of your right nostril, your left nostril. There is Bhastrika, which is basically the holotropic breathing, Wim Hof breathing. And then there is, like the Buddhist way, Vipassana. Just observing the breath until it slows down and slows down and slows down. And that's probably, the most powerful form of pranayama, control of breath, is to slow it down so that you're breathing 2 breaths per minute, 1 breath per minute. Really, that's now you're going in. Okay? So even the Bhastrika and the quick breathing and the holotropic breathing, that's just to clear you up. Okay? That's to clear you up, because you ever take a cold shower or do a Wim Hof breathing, after it, your breathing slows down. Once you stay still, it slows down. So the whole purpose of Bhastrika, of these, more rapid ways of breathing, is so that you could, afterwards, your breathing slows down so much on its own. Because you ultimately want to get down to 2 breaths per minute, 1 breath per minute. And Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching says, you know, the master breathes as if he's not breathing. You can't even hear the master breathe because, you know, again, it's like you're breathing 1 breath per minute, less than 1 breath per minute. It's so silent, still, and you're, you know, and now, once you have control of breath, pranayama, now you could go into the more advanced versions. Now you could go to the other 4 limbs, which are more esoteric, inwards. Okay? Now you can begin to do some sensory deprivation. You don't have to have a blindfold or earplugs or a sensory deprivation tanks. The early rishis and the yogis did not have these luxuries. Okay, they were able, once they really mastered the first 4, they were able to just withdraw their senses, you know, so you're not hearing anymore, you're not seeing anymore, you're not feeling anymore. And now you go in, and now you could concentrate. Now you go into your 3rd eye, you could concentrate on one thing. You're moving into the 6th limb, dharana, or whatever the other one is. Anyway, it's concentration. You either pick something, a mantra, you concentrate on the mantra, or you look at a candle flame, you concentrate on the candle flame, or whatever. There's different techniques. Okay, trataka, different techniques. And now, if you concentrate on one thing for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in a row, now we're talking. Because now you could go within, now you could go in, and now you could begin to experience these higher states. And you could be, Samadhi, essentially you go into absorption. You become so absorbed and you go into a state of total absorption, total ecstasy, total bliss, total just no words. You transcend language. You go beyond language. You just go beyond the ordinary world, beyond the Maya, beyond the illusion. And you become God absorbed, you know, light absorbed, if you will. Samadhi. So you see, like, it's not easy to reach those states. Now, once you become a master at Ashtanga yoga, it's like you could just kind of like turn it on and off. You're like, okay, I'm going into 5 grams of mushrooms, equivalent anyway, or 10 grams. Oh, I'm out of it now. You just do it like you become so conscious, such a conscious being. You can turn it on and off, on and off. You might be in a social situation where that needs to turn off. You turn it off. You just turn off that bliss and ecstasy and absorption, and you just get back into the mundane, and boom, you turn it back in again, back off, on and off. You just become so master. It's just kind of like an athlete, like who's mastered their sport, right? You can give Messi a ball and he just woke up, and he'll do amazing things with it, even though he just woke up. He just woke up, right? Give him a ball. I mean, that's his thing. He mastered it. Same thing. Once you master this path, Ashtanga Yoga, it's like you're a master now. You could go into the 1,000 lotus, the 1,000 jewels, and experience, as if you're having sex on like bazillion, like to the power of bazillion. You're just orgasming to the power of bazillion, right? And you could just kind of turn it off and back to the mundane and look like a normal person. Because you mastered, that's your sport. Ashtanga Yoga is your sport and you mastered it, right? So it's a lifelong path. It's a lifelong path. Okay? And so these are like sort of the 8 limbs, the 8 different limbs. And yeah, it's very, very interesting, and I'm sort of exploring it now. Still very much in the first 4, particularly in the first 2, really. You know, I'm just observing the Yamas and the Niyamas and really, really meditating on them. What do they mean? How could I surrender to God? What does that mean? What does it mean to be non-possessive? To not have attachments? What does that mean? And I'm sort of reflecting on all these different things, trying to kill less of the mosquitoes and the flies. You know, I'm still like, you know, if they're annoying, boom, right? But trying to do less of that. So I'm still like, you know, practicing the first 2, getting lots of massages, stretching to loosen up the body, and doing pranayama now 1 or 2 hours a day. Okay, and as I progress, I'm also doing coconut water fast now. I'm in the process. So I'm still like pretty much in the first 2, 3, and 4 also, you know, sort of happens simultaneously. And yeah, I ordered the earplugs. I got the blindfold meditation. Once I feel like I'm advancing, I could begin to use these tools to withdraw inwards and see what happens from there, right? But it's definitely not something you do overnight. It's definitely something that takes many years of practice. Just like, again, Again, if you're an athlete, again, same thing, right? It takes you so long to, master your sport. Same thing. You look at this as a sport, you realize that's it's gonna take you many years to get to those levels. But I mean, look, if you get upwards and you really become like you really can look at something for 6 hours. Just like observe something, look at it for 6 hours, single pointed. They say at those levels, all the cities, the powers become available to you. Because if you could look at something for 6 hours, 9 hours in a row, undisturbed, you can begin to manifest things with your mind. A lot of cities and powers will open up. So it's not a path without rewards. And people, they warn you about these cities. They tell you, look, you want enlightenment, go past the cities. Go past it. Keep going. Patanjali said, look, you're going to unlock these powers in the path when you do Ashtanga yoga. He says, go past them. But if you want to have fun with them, I want to have fun with them. So, but it's not the main reason why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I recognize the potential for human consciousness. I recognize the potential for consciousness in human form. Because I'm not really human, you're not human, you're just having a human experience. And I recognize the potential through various experiences that I had with psychedelics and etc. And I recognize that this is my potential. And what else am I gonna do now but reach that potential? Is there anything else for me to do in life but to reach for the light? Not really. So that it's just kind of came for me as a natural progression in life to begin to be more observing of this path. Okay, so I'm definitely really I'll keep making videos on them. Maybe we'll talk about each, because even the Yamas and the Niyamas, man, like if you actually like contemplate on them, oh wow, like it'll take you a lot, like it'll take a lot of contemplation and reflection to even begin to embody the Yamas and the Niyamas, which is just the ethics of yoga. So really, like, I'll make videos separate for each limb, okay, and talk more about it as I progress personally in the path as well. But it's very interesting, and it's a tried and proven method, because it's all these different methods to get you to be who you are. There's so many different paths. There's the tantric path, tantric yoga. That's Tibetan yoga, basically. The Tibetan is a tantric method. Tibetan Buddhism is a tantric method, essentially, tantric Buddhism, right? A lot of the yogis in the Himalayas, they follow more of the Ashtanga yoga path, right? If you go to the Himalayas, they're more than likely going to be practicing Ashtanga yoga. This is the one we just talked about now. So there's so many different paths, right? Different yogas. Different folks for different strokes for different folks, right? And this one is tried and proven. This one is really powerful. It's really powerful. Ashtanga yoga is one of the most powerful systems you'll come across for reaching higher states of awareness, higher states of consciousness. So we'll make videos in the past. Hopefully, I'll be better prepared, because I'm immersing myself in that world right now, and I'll definitely be better prepared than this video. This was like a warm up, okay? So yeah, that's about it. Thank you to all the Patreons for supporting. I really love you guys, and I admire you for, putting in your appreciation in the form of financial support. I'd love to do this full time at some point. Not that I'm complaining. I like what I'm doing right now, teaching the kids and everything. But I'd love to do this full time one day, maybe next. Who knows? And who knows, right? If you get enough people on Patreon, honestly, my expenses here aren't even that much. So it's like, to be able to do this full time off Patreon, it won't take that much, honestly. So yeah, if you'd like to contribute, you could do so with as little as $2 a month, honestly. Get off your lazy ass, get your credit card, put in the information. That's like $24 a year. Eventually, enough people do it, and I'm able to do this full time, and then we could go beyond. The more resources we have on this channel, the more things we could do, right? One thing is for certain, I'm not going to shut up anytime soon. Perhaps when I have mastered these levels and I'm up, again, I probably won't shut up. Because I want to get to the point where I could turn off and on Samadhi. So I still want to be here in the mundane to spread awareness and wisdom. But I also would like to be up there as well. Okay? So one thing's for sure, I'm not going to shut up. These videos will keep coming. Yeah, so if you want to do one-time donation via PayPal also, if that's your thing, I got a link in the description as well. All the love to you guys. I love every single one of you. And until next time, may the Force be with you.